I'll get started, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Om Jnanantimirandasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha श्रीरूपं साग्रजातान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna everyone. I will actually be doing the module review today for module 4, and Mataji has the slides on the thing. Mataji, is it possible for you to get the slides full thing on, like the slideshow, or
Yeah, 1 minute. I thought that's what I did. Just 1 minute.
Thank you, Mataji. So we will be covering Canto 3, chapter 13, 14, 15, appearance of Lord Varaha, pregnancy of Diti in the evening, and description of kingdom of God. I have just tried to compile the text, of course, with the help of certain books and Prabhupada's purports, to just to explain what each of the chapter basically covers. So I won't be doing all the translations in detail, but just touch upon the important translations. In chapter 13, so we will start off with the text 1 to 17. For Swayambhu Manu's desire.
Sorry, Mataji, I actually did it like a slideshow on my machine, but somehow in screen share it is showing it as small.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Govind will know. I couldn't get it on the screen share.
That's okay, Mataji. Yeah, I'm actually using my other laptop just to see, because that's okay, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. So the text 1 to 17 actually talks about Swayambhu Manu's desire to serve. So in chapter 12, we actually saw that from Brahma's body, Manu and his wife both emanated, and now they're asking. He wants to. He's asking Brahma, "I want to serve." So that's the question where it starts with. So the sage Maitreya said to Vidura, after his appearance, Manu, the father of mankind, along with his wife, thus addressed the reservoir of Vedic wisdom, Brahma, with obeisances and folded hands. He's asking, now you've created me, what is my job? And he says that you are the father of all the living entities. Please order, just let me know what is the service that I'm supposed to do. And so he asked that. And the next one is Brahma is replying to him. He says in the 11th text, he says, you are a very obedient son, and so I ask you to beget qualified children, in the womb of your wife. Rule the world in pursuance of the principles of devotional service. Basically, he tells him that have kids, and they all have to be Krishna conscious, and that he has to take care of the whole world. And
They make a priority, maybe. But I mean, there's a potential of starting a book to study your house.
Mataji, I couldn't hear you. I don't know about others.
Sorry, I don't know. I just got the mute got pressed. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the verses 1 to 17, I'll just explains that, and he asks his father Brahma, what am I supposed to do? I mean, what's my service? So Brahma tells him, Mataji, next slide. He tells him that
Hare Krishna. I'm sorry, Mataji, I muted you by mistake.
Yeah. Mataji, you are muted now.
Sorry, please unmute.
Oh, that's okay, Prabhu. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Govind,
So
I
now,
went to the next slide, but it's not showing in the screen share. In my machine, it's showing the next slide, but in the screen share, it's still showing the previous. I don't know what is happening.
Just reopen screen share. It should be fine.
Reopen for every slide? Okay.
No. Maybe just a bug. Just
Okay. You continue, Mataji.
yeah. So in the next, so once he asked this to Brahma, Brahma is mentioning that you have to give proper protection to all the living beings of the material world, and that will be the best service that you can do to me. So he's having a conversation with his son Manu, and so he says that when Krishna sees you doing this, he will be very pleased with you. So Manu said, "O powerful Lord, O Lord, killer of all sins, I will just follow what you say. Now please let me know where am I supposed to go, and now when I have the living entities who are born of me, where are they supposed to live?" So he says, please, he's asking this to Brahma, and now Brahma is he knows that they have to be on the Earth planet. Fine, but the Earth planet is actually in the water. So he's saying that, "O Master of the demigods, please attempt to lift the Earth, which is merged in the great water, because it is the dwelling place for all the living entities. It can be done by your endeavor." So Brahma realizes that he can do that, and he is going to pray to the Lord to do it. So he gives Brahma gave his attention for a long time. That is so that it could be lifted out of the Garbhodaka ocean. I mean, we get to know from the purport that the water in which the earth had fallen off is Garbhodaka ocean, while he was creating the other parts of the universe. So Brahma thought, while I have engaged in the process of creation, the earth has been inundated by a deluge and has gone down into the depths of the ocean. What can we do who are engaged in the matter of creation? So what can we do? We don't have that in our hands. What we are going to do is we are going to pray to the Almighty Lord. Next slide, Mataji. Thank you. This is continuing conversation between Maitreya and Vidura now. Vidura, all of a sudden, "O sinless Vidura," all of a sudden, while Brahma is contemplating, this is a narration that continues. Now Brahma is sitting down to contemplate that how am I going to get help to get the earth out? And as he was doing that, from his nostril, there was a little boar that came out, which was the creature of that of the thumb size, and so he was out, and as soon as the boar came out of his nostril, he started becoming big and big, and this actually, of course, perturbed his mind, and he's then Brahma is thinking, is this boar Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He's thinking about it, and he says that he was personally so he's contemplating about it, and the 24 we get to know he understands that the omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead enlivened Brahma and the other highly elevated Brahmanas by again roaring with his uncommon voice, which echoed in all direction. Like when they started praying and they realized they're contemplating, he roared loudly, just like saying yes, like the boar form. And before entering the water to rescue the earth, Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashing his tail, his hard hairs quivering. His very glance was luminous, and he scattered the clouds in the sky with his hooves and his glittering white tusks. So he was moving around, and I was thinking that in one of the purports, while he was moving around, the movement of his tail, when we get to know after he gets in the water and he gets out, that the movement was so huge that even people living in the higher planetary systems, like the highermost, who are elevated souls, they could actually feel the splash of that water. So you can imagine how big the boar had become. And so he was personally the Supreme Personality of Godhead and was therefore transcendental. And yet, because he had the body of a hog, he searched after the earth by smell. So that is probably one of the reasons that he came as a boar, to search for Krishna, probably everything is easy and fine. He probably can find out where earth is even without becoming a boar. But he searched out, he had the body of a hog, so it's mentioned in the 28 that He searched after the earth by smell. His tusks were fearful. He glanced over the devotee Brahmanas engaged in offering prayers, and while looking at them, he actually entered the water, the ocean water. The boar penetrated in the water with his hooves, which were like sharp arrows. That's what is mentioned. And he actually found the limits of the ocean. You can imagine that in the universe is such a huge place, and he could actually find the the limit of the ocean. And although it is unlimited, for Krishna, there it's not. It is nothing. There's nothing that is unlimited. So he saw the earth and the resting place for all the living entities, lying as it was in the beginning of creation. And he personally lifted it. He realized that he found it, and he lifted it up. And Lord Boar very easily took the earth on his tusk. He picked it up on his tusk and got it out of the water. Now he appeared very splendid. Then his anger glowing like the Sudarshana veer, he immediately killed the demon Hiranyaksha, although he tried to fight with the Lord. So that was the reason why he appeared as Varahadev. So he actually picked up the earth, and he fought with Hiranyaksha and killed him. So the comparison given in 32 is Lord Boar killed the demon within the water just as lion kills an elephant. The cheeks and the tongue of the Lord became smeared with the blood of the demon, just as an elephant becomes reddish from digging in the purple earth. In the next thing it says that the Lord, playing like an elephant, suspended the earth on the edge of his curved white tusk. So it was like on top of it, and he assumed a bluish complexion like that of a tamala tree. And this made helped the sages realize that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the text 34 to 45 is basically talking about the further glorification of by the sages. They are glorifying Lord Varaha over and again. This says, "O Lord, for your form is worshipable by the performances of sacrifice, but souls who are simply miscreants are unable to see you. All the Vedic hymns, Gayatri and others, are in touch of your skin. In your bodily hairs is the kusha grass, in your eyes is the clarified butter, and in your 4 legs are the 4 kinds of fruitive activities." So they actually compare Krishna, Varaha, each and every part, and they are glorifying the Lord over and over again. And they say that we offer you obeisances, and you can be realized by the pure mind, free from visible and invisible material contamination. So it's so important that we are free from the material contamination, and that's what the sages reiterate, that we will be able to understand Lord Varaha better in that way. And he says that, "O Lord, for residential purposes of all inhabitants, both moving and non-moving, this earth is your wife." I was thinking about the part that most people in the world call Mother Earth. Earth is Mother. And in Bhagavatam, when we read it, it makes things more clearer. In this particular translation, "O Lord, for the residential purposes of all inhabitants, for both moving and non-moving, this earth is your wife. You are the Supreme Father. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you, along with Mother Earth, in whom you have invested your own potency, just as an expert sacrificer put fire in the Arani wood." So that makes it clear that that's the reason that everybody, they know it or not know it, they call Mother Earth, Earth as Mother Earth, because Krishna is the Supreme Father. And in this case, explaining that he is, Earth is Bhudevi, is his wife. So continuing the 34 to 45, and so the same thing as I had mentioned earlier, that the size of his was so big that Janatapas and Satyaloka people, they said that they were already in the most pious planets on the in the universe. So they were purified just by the drops of the water sprinkled from the shoulders hairs by shaking of his body. So we can imagine how huge was Varaha, that when he moved, all the water started sprinkling onto the upper planetary systems. So he is on the, we're talking about Garbhodaka ocean, which is below. He's been lifting up and coming up and moving around. So yeah, so that shaking of his body actually gets that. The sage Maitreya said, "The Lord, being thus worshipped by all great sages and transcendentalists, touched the earth with his hooves and placed it on the water." Sorry. So that's what he's mentioning. He says that the sage Maitreya said, the Lord being thus worshipped by all great sages and transcendentalists, touched the earth with his hooves and placed it on the water. So in the next translation, he says, in this manner, the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the maintainer of all living entities, raised the earth from within the water, and having placed it afloat on the water, he returned to his own abode. So his reason of his appearance was completed, and the Earth planet is now again afloat on the water. Now, this is the most important. It says, if one hears and describes in a devotional service attitude this auspicious, excuse me, Prabhu. So sorry. So this is what he says. So in this manner, the personality of Godhead. He says, if one hears and describes in a devotional service attitude this auspicious narration of Lord Bod, which is worthy of description, the Lord who is within the heart of everyone is very pleased. So this is a very important part of listening to this beautiful description of Lord Varaha's appearance. Now, when Krishna is with someone and is pleased with someone, there's nothing that will remain unachieved. So by transcendental achievement, one understands everything else to be insignificant. And one who engages in transcendental loving service is elevated to the highest perfectional stage by Lord himself. And because Krishna is seated in everyone's heart. Now, who other than one who is not a human being can exist in this world and not be interested in the ultimate goal of life? If a person has a human form of life, why would he not be interested in finding out what is the ultimate goal of life? Who can refuse the nectar of narrations about the personality of Godhead's activities, which by itself can deliver one from all material pangs? He says this is the only way that he can get to the, get out of the. So he talks about who would actually be able to refuse the nectar of narrations about the personality of God, his activities. So this is such a nice thing, just getting to know about Krishna. A person can be delivered from the material pangs. Going to the next thing, text 46 to 50 basically talks about Varahadev returned to his own abode and Maitreya Muni offers benediction. So Varahadev has done his job. He came to protect the earth and saw to it that Manu has a place to take his living entities that will be born of him, he and his wife. So he's taken care of that, and now he's returning back to his abode. So sage Maitreya said, the Lord being thus worshipped by all great sages and transcendentalists, touched the earth with his hooves and placed it on water. Now, in this manner, the personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the maintainer of all living entities, raised the earth from within the water, and having placed it afloat on the water, he returned to his own abode. So basically, the description is again, he's worthy of the. It's always worthy to listen to all the pastimes of Krishna. And I'm sorry, I think I'm repeating that.
Yeah, Mataji, you covered this slide, no?
Yeah. Sorry, Mataji, I didn't realize that. So going to the chapter 14, pregnancy of. So basically, that ends the chapter 13. It talked about in 3 lines. So in chapter 13 was Brahma, Manu being formed from Brahma, and he and his wife. And so they're asking, what are we supposed to do? So Brahma is happy. He says, you're the obedient son, and you're going to go create more living entities. That's your job. So he says, okay, where am I supposed to go? Where are the living entities supposed to be? So he says it has to be on the Earth planet, and so the Earth planet was actually already into the Garbhodaya ocean. Varaha appears, he lifts the Earth planet, and he leaves back to his abode. Now, in the next thing is chapter 14, pregnancy of Diti in the evening. In this, just dividing the text and the main points there. Text 1 to 7 basically describes about Vidura inquires about the Lord's fight with Hiranyakashipu. Now he says, Vidura, Maitreya told him about how Varaha appeared and he killed Hiranyakashipu. He's still very inquisitive. He wants to know, what happened? How did he kill Hiranyakashipu?
Mother, Hiranyaksha or Hiranyakashipu?
Sorry, I made a mistake. I put there. Hiranyaksha. So, so Vidura is asking, "O chief amongst the great sages, I have heard from the disciplic succession that Hiranyaksha, the original demon, was slain by the same form of sacrifice. Um, the personality of Godhead, Lord bore. Then what was the reason, O Brahmana, for the fight between the demon king and the Lord bore, while the Lord was lifting the earth as his pastime?" He says, how did Hiranyaksha come between? I didn't get that. So he says, my mind has been very inquisitive, and therefore I am not satisfied with hearing the narration of Lord's appearance. Please, therefore, speak more and more to a devotee who is faithful. The great sage Maitreya said, "O warrior, the inquiry made by you is just befitting a devotee, because it concerns the incarnation of the personality of Godhead. He is the source of liberation from the chain of birth and death for all those who are otherwise destined to die." So he says, yes, whatever your questions that you have asked is absolutely good, because this is what is going to help you get out of birth and death, the cycle of birth and death, because you're asking about what it's all about Krishna. It's all about his pastimes. So by hearing these topics, he says, Maitreya is again mentioning to Vidura, just by hearing these topics, the sage Narada, the son of Uttanapada Dhruva, was enlightened regarding the personality of Godhead. He says that, he just gives an example. He says, a similar thing happened before. Narada was asked by Dhruva Maharaj, and he got enlightened regarding Krishna, and he ascended the abode of the Lord, placing his feet over the head of death. He says, so he was able to conquer, this birth cycle, the whole cycle, and get out of this world and be placed, he ascended to the abode of Krishna. This history of fight between Lord as a boar and a demon Hiranyaksha was heard by me in a year long ago. It was described by the foremost of the demigods, Brahma, when he was questioned by other demigods. He said, I heard this when Brahma mentioned this, and the situation was when demigods were asking the same kind of question to Brahma. So he's continuing. So as an answer to that, he's continuing to talk about Diti and Kashyapa Muni's situation here. Diti, the daughter of Daksha, is being afflicted by sex desire, begged her husband Kashyapa, the son of Marichi, to have intercourse with her in the evening in order to beget a child. So he's explaining it. So what happened before that? Now going back to before even Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu are born. This is like a flashback. We're looking at how were they born and what was the reason, and so the story starts with Diti and Kashyapa. So Diti is daughter of Daksha, and so she wants to have kids. She's looking at the opulent things of her co-wives, and she thinks that she also should have sons. So, O hero Vidura, Diti, being afflicted by the contamination of lust and therefore poor and talkative, was pacified by the son of Marichi in suitable words. So here an important point that I mentioned in the translation 20 is, as a fort commander very easily conquers invading plunders. By taking shelter of a wife, one can conquer the senses which are unconquerable in other social orders. So this is a point that he's mentioning. He says, so here in the situation, Diti is asking Daksha for children. So the desire, that the sense gratification desire, can be satisfied only through a wife. So even though it is not possible to repay, so then the response of it by Kashyapa is, I shall satisfy your sex desire immediately for the sake of begetting children, but you must wait for only a few seconds so that others may not reproach me. So he's requesting her to just wait for a little while, but this particular time, he says, this particular time is most inauspicious, because at this time the horrible looking ghosts and constant companions of the world of the ghosts are visible. He says this is not a good time at all. But and then he explains that Lord Shiva is there is nobody equal to Lord Shiva in the material world. Although his unimpeachable character is followed by great souls to dismantle the mass of nations, he nevertheless remains as if he's always wanting to give salvation to to all the devotees of the Lord. So he says that this is the time that Shiva, and who's Bhutanatha, he's there. So it is not the most appropriate time, and of course she couldn't control her urge, and so he had to get to the forbidden act at that particular time. And text 32 to 51, Kashyapa Muni foretells the birth of demonic progeny. He says, I mean, now, the situation is that he comes and he has a bath in the water, and he's controlled his speech by practicing trance, meditating on the eternal effulgence, and chanting the holy Gayatri hymns within his mouth. He says, O son of Bharata family, Diti after this went nearer to her husband, her face lowered because of her faulty action. She spoke as follows. The beautiful Diti said, My dear Brahmana, kindly see that my embryo is not killed by Lord Shiva. Now she's very worried. She's thinking what would happen to her children. So she says that, can you see to it that my embryo is not killed by Lord Shiva, the Lord of all living entities, because of the great offense I have committed against him. She realizes when she's done with the situation, she realizes that she committed an offense, committed an offense, great offense against him. So let him be pleased with us, since he is my brother-in-law. She's Sati's sister, and so she said, he's my brother-in-law, the husband of my sister Sati. He's also worshipped Lord of all women. He's the personality of all opulences, and can show mercy towards men, who are excused even by the uncivilized hunters. She says that she talks about herself being the most she should show mercy because she's also like an uncivilized hunter. So in this situation, O haughty one. So Kashyapa Muni is responding. He says, O haughty one, you will have two contemptuous sons born of your condemned womb. Unlucky woman, they will cause constant lamentation to all the three worlds. So he knows the future. He knows what's going to happen. He says, because of the time of the intercourse, she will be having kids that are going to be, basically the womb is condemned, and they are going to cause difficulty to all the people in the world. So he says, and then he continues. He says, you'll have two children, and then they are going to be causing difficulty. But at the time, one important thing here is, at the time, the universe, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's actually the well-wisher of all the living entities, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountains with his thunderbolts. So Diti is asking, it's very good that my sons will be magnanimously killed by the arms of the Personality of Godhead with his Sudarshana weapon. O my husband, may they never be killed by the wrath of a Brahmana devotees. So here she says that I'm very happy that they can be killed by Krishna, but they shouldn't be killed by the wrath of Brahmana devotees. So Prabhupada mentions that a person who's condemned by Brahmana or is always fearful to other living entities is not favored either by those who are already in hell or those in the species in which he is born. So the condemning of a Brahmana is to such an extent that that is just not okay. So that's the reason she requests that she's happy that Krishna is going to kill them, but she's very afraid about the wrath of Brahmana devotees. Now the learned Kashyapa said, because of your lamentation, penitence, and proper deliberation, and also because of your unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and your adoration for Lord Shiva and me, one of the sons, Prahalada, of your son, Hiranyakashipu, will be an approved devotee of the Lord, and his fame will be broadcasted equally with that of the Personality of Godhead. So he says that because you have an unflinching faith in Krishna, you will be having a grandson who will be a very, very great devotee. And he will actually be able to see inside and outside of Krishna, whose wife is a beautiful goddess of fortune. The Lord can assume the form desired by the devotee, and his face always beautifully decorated with earrings. I was thinking that he probably also knew that he's going to appear as, I didn't get this point, because when he says that the Lord can assume the form desired by the devotee, so it looks like because Nrsimhadev was going to appear. So maybe this is a small hint there. So I'm not too sure about that, because that's what I felt with that line. And of course, then Diti is very pleased. She's very pleased that her sons are going to be killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that she's going to have a child who's going to be absolutely a devotee of the Lord. Going to the next one, it's actually so that basically ends this chapter 14, talks about Diti. she conceiving the kids in a wrong time, and they are going to cause difficulty in the whole universe. And then she gets pacified, understanding that her kids are going to be killed by Krishna, and that she's going to have a grandchild who's going to be Prahlad. So going to the next chapter, description of the kingdom of God. That's the 15th chapter. In this particular chapter, the verses are clubbed in this way. Text 1 to 10, universe is covered by darkness. Now, Diti is pregnant with her children. So by force of the pregnancy of Diti, the light of sun and moon was impaired in all planets. And the demigods of various planets, being disturbed by that force, asked the creator of the universe, Brahma, what is this expansion of darkness in all directions? Then they have this question: what is it that has caused so much darkness around? So the demigods started praying to Brahma, please look upon us mercifully, for we have fallen into a miserable condition because of the darkness. All our work has been suspended. So we can imagine if there is no light, if there's no light, how it would affect everybody's activities. So the demigods are very concerned, and they're asking, please help us out. We don't know what to do. So a fuel overloads a fire. So the embryo created by the semen of Kashyapa in the womb of Diti has caused complete darkness throughout the universe. So that's the reason here it is mentioned that the womb of Diti is condemned, and because of that basically causes the complete darkness throughout the universe. Text 11 to 22. The four Kumaras travel to Vaikuntha. Now we are continuing with the story. So we realized now that her kids Diti has. Now this is flashback to the flashback. Now here we are at the place where the four Kumaras are traveling to Vaikuntha, and in 11 that's explained from the text 11 to 22. It says, Sri Maitreya said, thus Lord Brahma, who is understood by transcendental vibration, tried to satisfy the demigods, being pleased with their words of prayer. So everybody's praying, we don't know, there's so much darkness out, you need to help us out. So he's pleased with them. And so Lord Brahma said, my four sons, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara, who were born from my mind, are your predecessors. Sometimes they travel through the material and spiritual skies without any definite desire. After thus traveling all over the universes, they also entered into the spiritual sky, for they were freed from all material contamination. In the spiritual sky, there are spiritual planets known as Vaikunthas, which are the residents of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His pure devotees, and are worshipped by the residents of all the material planets. In the Vaikuntha planets, all the residents are similar in form to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They all engage in devotional service of the Lord without desires for sense gratification. Now this is beautiful explanation of, you can keep hearing to this over and over again, and relishing the description. So he says that in Vaikuntha planets, all the residents are similar in form of Sarupya explanation here, in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They all engage in devotional service to the Lord without desires for sense gratification. And the next thing he says is, in Vaikuntha planets is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original person and who can be understood through Vedic literature. He is full of uncontaminated modes of goodness, with no place for passion or ignorance. He contributes religious progress for devotees. So this is explained so well that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can go to this. These are the Vaikuntha planets. We know the route to go there. We know where to look for the route. The map is available in the Vedic literature, and we know the goal, and we need to achieve the goal. What to do for achieving the goal? So everything is there. All the WH: who, where, what, when, and how. So he's talking about just. You have to understand this just by reading the Vedic literature. In those Vaikuntha planets, there are many forests which are very auspicious. In those forests, the trees are desire trees. In all the seasons, they are filled with flowers and fruits, because everything in Vaikuntha planet is spiritual and personal. So we had a discussion on this about the stones, the plants, and all the things. Everything that is present in Vaikuntha planets are spiritual. There's nothing that is material there. Continuing the explanation of the description, the Kumaras travel to Vaikuntha. So in Vaikuntha planets, the inhabitants fly in airplanes. So because we're talking about the Kumaras going to the Vaikuntha planets, we are looking at the all how does Vaikuntha planets look like. So in Vaikuntha planets, the inhabitants fly in their aeroplanes, accompanied by their wives and consorts, and eternally sing the character and activities of the Lord, which are always devoid of inauspicious qualities. While singing the glories of the Lord, they deride even the presence of blossoming Madhavi flowers, which are fragrant and laden with honey. So, it's nice to hear about the opulence of Vaikuntha. The inhabitants of Vaikuntha travel in their aeroplanes made of lapis lazuli, emerald, and gold. Although crowded by their consorts, who have large hips and beautiful smiling faces, they cannot be stimulated to passion by their mirth and beautiful charms. So the devotional service to Krishna is far above the passionate material world that people get attracted to. So this kind of explains that how elevated it is. And then it talks about the ladies in the Vaikuntha planets are beautiful as goddess of fortune herself. Such transcendental beautiful ladies, their hands playing with their lotuses and their leg bangles tinkling, are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedecked at intervals with golden borders in order to receive the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is really not much dust, nothing, but they just want to please Krishna. They always want to keep cleaning over and over again, and that's just their their service to Krishna. The goddesses of the fortune worship the Lord in their own gardens by offering tulsi leaves on the coral-paved banks of transcendental reservoirs of water. While offering worship to the Lord, they can see on the water the reflections of the beautiful faces with raised noses, and it appears that they have become more beautiful because of the Lord's kissing their faces. So, they look so much beautiful, but the beauty increases just because of their love for Krishna and Krishna's love for them. In the text 23 to 25, Lord Brahma glorifies Vaikuntha. He's glorifying, he's explaining how his 4 sons entered Vaikuntha, and he's glorifying it over and over. It is very much regrettable that unfortunate people do not discuss the description of the Vaikuntha planets, but engage in the topics which are unworthy to hear, which will bewilder one's intelligence. Those who give up the topics of Vaikuntha and take to talk of the material world are thrown into the darkest region of ignorance. So, yeah, that's very self-explanatory. He talks about how it is so nice for us to read these things and realize that there are unfortunate people and how we can help them out. And Lord Brahma said, "My dear demigods, the human form of life is of such importance that we also desire to have such life. For in the human form one can attain perfect religious truth and knowledge. If one in this human form of life does not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his abode, it is to be understood that he is very much affected by the influence of external nature." He says that if suppose he is not understanding who's Krishna, and he is not taken up to the path of Krishna consciousness, he is the most unfortunate, and he is very affected by the influence of Mahamaya. Persons who have bodily features change in ecstasy, who breathe heavily and perspire due to hearing the glories of the Lord, are promoted to the kingdom of God, even though they do not care for meditation and other austerities. The kingdom of God is above the material universes, and it is desired by Brahma and other demigods. So it makes it very clear, explaining about the presence of Vaikuntha planets far above the universe that we live in. Not just the Earth planet, but all the species in all the different planets, upper and lower planetary system, always want to go back to Godhead. And they do not care. It doesn't matter whether you're meditating or you're doing austerities in life. Just basically you love Krishna, and that's what you need to do. And become a devotee of Krishna. Text 26 to 37 basically talks about the sages are obstructive and curse the gatekeepers. Getting back to we heard the beautiful, the explanation of Vaikuntha, and the sages are obstructed. Now, getting back to the 4 Kumaras entering the Vaikuntha Puri. So after passing, they are already, very highly. They have a lot of, powers, and they're able to enter. They entered all the 6 entrances of Vaikuntha Puri, the Lord's residence, without feeling astonishment to all the decoration they saw. At the 7th, they saw beautiful decorations around, but they were not astonished. But at the 7th gate, 2 shining beings of the same age, armed with maces and adorned with most valuable jewelry, earrings, diamonds, and helmets and garments. They actually saw 2 people, the gatekeepers there. The great sages, headed by Sanaka, had opened doors everywhere. They had no idea of ours and theirs. With open minds, they entered the 7th door out of their own will. just as they had passed through the 6 other doors, which were made of gold and diamonds. So Sanaka, who was the head of all the 4 Kumaras, he opened the doors everywhere. Now that's what he did now too. So the 4 boy sages, who had nothing to cover their bodies for the atmosphere, looked only 5 years old, even though they were the oldest of all living creatures, and had realized the truth of the self. But when the porters, who happened to possess a disposition quite unpalatable to the Lord, saw the sages, they blocked their way with their staffs, despising their glories, although sages did not deserve such treatment at their hands. So they actually stopped these 4 sages. Now, the story continues. The sages said, "Who are these 2 persons who have developed such a discordant mentality?" Now they are thinking, who can this be? These 2 persons are living in Vaikuntha? Where is the possibility of an enemy coming into the kingdom of God? The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no enemy. Who could be envious of him? Probably these 2 persons are imposters. They're probably not supposed to be here and they're just here. They're not, this is not possible. That's what they say. They say, when the doormen of Vaikuntha Loka, who were certainly devotees of the Lord, found that they were going to be cursed. Now they realized that, so sages are very upset since they had been stopped. And as soon as they have stopped them, the 2 gatekeepers realized, the doormen realized, that they are going to be cursed by the Brahmanas. The Atman became very much afraid and fell at the feet of the Brahmanas in great anxiety. For a Brahmana's curse cannot be counteracted by any kind of weapon. So they were really afraid of the curse given by the 4 Kumaras. And then it's happened. The 36th says that after being cursed by the sages, the doorman said, "It's quite apt that you have punished us for neglecting to respect sages like you. But we pray that due to your compassion at your repentance, the illusion of forgetting the Supreme Personality of Godhead will not come upon us as we go progressively downward." He knows that he's on the top and he's going to go downward because of the curse. So he's saying that please let us not come into the illusion of forgetting the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We cannot live forgetting him. At that very moment, so Krishna is the Paramatma. He knows exactly what's happening everywhere. So he appears at that moment. So it's very nicely described. At that very moment, the Lord, who is called Padmanabha, because of his lotus grown from his navel, and who is the delight of the righteous, learned about the insult offered by his own servants to the saints. Accompanied by his spouse, the goddess of fortune, he went to the spot on those very feet sought by the recluses and great sages. So Krishna appeared there. So when we say it's very feet, that means he was actually walking to them. So 38 to 45 talks about Lord arriving at the place where the 4 Kumaras and the 2 gatekeepers are there. The Lord is the reservoir of all pleasure. His auspicious presence is meant for everyone's benediction, and his affectionate smiling and glancing touch the core of the heart. The Lord's bodily color is blackish, and his broad chest is the resting place of Goddess of Fortune, who glorifies the entire spiritual world, the summit of all heavenly planets. Thus it appeared that the Lord was personally spreading the beauty and good fortune of the spiritual world. The exquisite beauty of Narayana, being many times magnified by the intelligence of his devotees, was so attractive that it defeated the pride of the Goddess of Fortune in being the most beautiful. My dear demigods, the Lord, who thus manifested himself in worshipable by me, by Lord Shiva, and by all of you, the sages regarded him with unsated eyes and joyously bowed their heads to his lotus feet. The sages came all the way just to see Krishna. But here the important point mentioned in the next translation is, when the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of those sages, they experienced a change both in mind, in body, and in mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. So this is one of the very important reasons that Prabhupada says that even at the temple we smell the flowers, we smell the tulsi leaves. So any tinge of impersonal Brahman present can be gone just by smelling tulsi leaves, which is offered to the feet of Krishna. So this is a form of the Lord which is meditated upon the followers of the yoga process and is pleasing to the yogis in meditation. It is not imaginary but factual, as proved by the great yogis. The Lord is full in 8 kinds of achievement, but for others these achievements are not possible in full perfection. And at the last slide talks about the 4 Kumaras offer prayers to Lord Narayana. That is from text 46 to 50 of chapter 15. The Kumara said, "O dear Lord, you are not manifested to rascals, even though you are seated within the heart of everyone. But as far as we are concerned, we see you face to face, although you are unlimited. The statements we have heard about you from our father Brahma through the years have now been actually realized by your kind appearance. We know that you are the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, who manifests his transcendental form in the form of uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy, through unflinching devotional service by great sages whose hearts have been purified in devotional way. He explains that Krishna is present as Paramatma in everybody's heart, but he's still not understood by everybody. It depends on the level of devotional service of that particular soul and the want or desire behind understanding the Supreme. Persons who are very expert and most intelligent in understanding things, as they engage in hearing narrations of auspicious activities and pastimes of the Lord. So the most important here is to hear the activities of the Lord, which are worth chanting and worth hearing. Such persons do not care even for the highest material benedictions, namely liberation, to say nothing of other less important benedictions, like the material happiness of heavenly kingdom. O Lord, we pray that you let us be born in any hellish condition of life, just as long as our hearts and minds are always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. Our words are made beautiful by speaking of your activities, just as tulsi leaves are beautiful when offered unto your lotus feet. And as long as our ears are always filled with the chanting of your transcendental qualities. So here I was remembering Queen Kunti's prayer, so here it's also something like that. He says, we pray that you let us be born in hellish condition of life, that doesn't matter to them, but just as long as our hearts and minds are always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. So once the heart and mind is engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna, doesn't matter what bodily condition we are in, we are going to be in bliss. So Lord, we therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you, unto your eternal form, as this personality of Godhead, which you have so kindly manifested before us. Your supreme eternal form cannot be seen by unfortunate, less intelligent persons, but we are so much satisfied in our mind and vision to see you. You can imagine that we are able to see Krishna directly. That would be amazing. I think that is the end of the thing. 1 second, Prabhuji, sorry. So that actually completes the 3 chapters. I hope I was able to cover most of the points. Some of the purports are so nice. It's always nice to read Prabhupada's purports more in detail. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji, for so nicely summarizing it. Especially today, we are going to do the assignments. So your module review came at the right time as a refresher. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
That was fast. You finished 4 chapters in like less than an hour.
I hope I covered everything, Prabhu.
You did, Mataji.
Mataji, can you share this slide?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mataji, I'm having trouble sending one to the group. Can you just send the presentation out?
Yeah. Yes, Mataji. I will email that what Mataji sent.
Okay.
Asika Mataji, when is the essay due?
Essay was actually due last weekend.
Yeah, 23rd, right? No, I just thought maybe okay, whatever it is.
Yeah, it was actually due last weekend. Myself and Govindcharan had asked Shivas Pandit Prabhu to submit it by today. So we are going to do it today.
Okay,
I was just going to ask you, Mataji. I was thinking maybe I missed something. I don't know if there is another one due today. I was.
No. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Because I was asking him that I will do it on 5th, and then she was doing the summary today, so I was also confused. I
Yeah, it
have.
was actually due last Sunday only, Mataji.
Yeah. That's the only essay, right?
Yeah, that's the only. Sorry, we are
That's
late.
from 12 to 15, right, Mataji? 12,
Yeah,
13, 14, 15, right?
13,
13,
14,
14,
15. Yeah, 3 chapters.
3 chapters. Okay, yeah. But thank you, Sukeshwari Mataji. This slide will help me a lot.
Thank you, Mataji.
But the way in which you had consolidated the verses into the based on the themes uh, really made it very logical.
Yeah, I have to mention that all glories to Gurujana Prabhu. I actually read his book while I'm reading this, so it really helps out. So yeah, it's because of it. Thank you, Govind Datta Prabhu. Prabhu, we can't hear you.
Thank you, Mataji, for nicely presenting the summary of all the 4 chapters. I mean, you covered so much content, 1 hour. That is amazing.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Actually, it's nice to read Gurujana Prabhu's book. I mean, simultaneously because it, Bhagavatam can get sometimes confusing because we go are up and down, up and down, up and down between stories. So yeah.
And everybody else finished the assignments last week?
I submitted last week, Prabhu, Sunday.
Of course,
No,
they would have finished.
I didn't do it. So
Oh,
it's trying to explain.
anybody
The
didn't?
Govind Charan Prabhu and Rasika Mataji has a valid reason.
No,
But
that's right. Anybody didn't do it, you can tell that you are part of the Sadhu Sangha organizing team and get accepted.
Oh, thank you, Govind Charan Prabhu. Remember, this is live. Hello, Vrindavan.
Hi, go Vrindavan. You have any questions, Vrindavan?
No.
I was just thinking when you were going through the verses, in one thing in the last chapter in verse 36, when the 2 gatekeepers were cursed. Normally, when people get cursed, they will worry about about the regular consequences. It was so nice that they were saying that let us not forget about the Lord. I was thinking, wow, what a consciousness they have. Of course, they are in the spiritual world in the Vaikunta. So normally, when people get cursed, they will think, oh, I'm going to be born in material world or this or that or something like that. But they were so nicely expressing that, because that is the greatest loss of forgetting the Lord. I thought that was very nice.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji, we know the suffering exactly of forgetting Lord.
Another thing is how even though Krishna punishes, but he also gives a benediction later on by saying that Prahalad will be born in the family. But Krishna does. It's not that Krishna just forgives, but he ensures that you learn your lessons before bestowing his mercy in the family. Like that Prahalad will be born and things like that. The thing is, you can never escape. Like you have to pay your price if you commit any offense or a sin. It's just that Krishna facilitates you so that you learn your lessons, and it's that point really caught my attention.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. I see this verse. I think Prabhu is posting, explaining here.
Yeah.
Narayana Parasarve. Thank you, Govincharan Prabhu. Prabhu, we can't hear you.
Yeah, one more thing that struck me was like how complicated karma is. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, 18:12. Krishna says, "Anishtam ishtam mishram cha trividam karmana phalam bhagavati atyaginam pretya natu sanyasinam kvachit." For one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy. So, in the context of how Diti, she had a desire to beget child, but then those child will be demons, and then they'll be killed by the Lord, but then the grandchild will be devotee of the Lord. So you can see how the results are not always one or other, but it's As in the verse Krishna says, is desirable, undesirable, and mixed. You get all three combinations in that example.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. It's really complicated. It's not easy for a human mind to understand, at least for me.
But I was just questioning myself how in the last chapter, even though we hear so much about Vaikuntha and the place where it's free from anxiety, it's so fascinating when we read the chapter or discuss about it. But the same adoration doesn't manifest when we actually chant the holy name. You know, you don't think that that whole Vaikuntha is there in the holy name as well. So, but when we read the chapter, we feel so ecstatic. So, if anybody could share their realizations of how we could have the same mentality and eagerness when we do our when we do our chanting and feel like chanting more and not like finish our rounds.
Not me, Mataji, because I have no realization. I'm struggling hard.
In the initial days of my Krishna consciousness, I used to feel like that, Mataji, not anymore.
Krishna gave you initial mercy, huh, Prabhu?
Yeah.
I
Because
think the more the days go by in Krishna consciousness, the more it feels like not that unless we pay a special attention, japa feels like another chore that you have to complete every day.
yeah.
And that makes me.
Maybe that time we are like very humble, you know. We want to know more things. Now we are maybe puffed up or something like that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking there's a everyday chant call, and I was just thinking that I started chanting on the call about a year and a half ago, and I feel a very big difference when I chant to the devotees. When I do with myself, I don't feel anything. And the other part that I really helped is Gurujana Prabhu's the 10 points for japa. Like when you're chanting, you just think that you're going to chant only first. You're going to chant only one mantra, like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Don't worry about you have to do 108. And when you're doing 108, don't worry about your 16. So that kind of helped me for some time. And I would try to revert back to my sine wave curve going down. And again, I have to read it and take help from devotees to understand and again go up my curve. So I mean, I really feel that's very helpful. And we're going to start the everyday chant every day in the morning from 5:40 to 7:20. So devotees around the US, we chant together. So I will be sending out an email soon because earlier we had it from 7 to 8 our time to chant, but now it's moved to 5:40 our time in the morning.
Thank you, Mataji. One thing I have heard is, of course, I don't follow it all the time. Like, if we feel gratitude, then that helps us to pay more attention while chanting. Of course, I keep forgetting, but I heard it in Sachinandan Swami's Maharaj's lecture, or also he keeps talking about gratitude actually more often, because I feel like that's what we keep forgetting, that we never know when we might get into a thing that we may not be able to chant at all. So better to take use of this opportunity right now when we have a opportunity to chant every day actually.
Yes, Mataji.
I was just this morning another in the same lines, like I was hearing Sachinandan Swami's like something in YouTube because I wanted to find out what he said in Sadhu Sangha. Remember, he used to set up the mood for every session. It really helps for chanting also. But then I didn't know where to go, so I was just hearing something on the YouTube where Maharaj was saying how a monkey used to come and sit for the lectures every time they used to chant the holy names. But Maharaj was saying that he lost his opportunity when he was a human, and now you see in the monkey body, what can it do? So yeah, hearing things like this and reading again and maybe yeah, that's one way of focusing our mind on increasing our interest in chanting.
Yeah,
Wow. Thank you,
this
Mataji. That's so powerful. Now we have to remember that if we don't chant now, then we have to become a monkey, and then at that time we will try to chant.
Yeah.
And also, I was thinking the sense of urgency comes, like Queen Kunti, we have to pray to give the difficulties.
Oh, I'm not there yet, Prabhu. I might start blaspheming
No,
Krishna if he gives too much suffering to me.
I know I used to.
yeah, I think that's why we need constant hearing to stress the importance of all the devotional activities, because we keep forgetting. It has not become our part of our realization, or at least for my sake, I can tell that.
Yes, Prabhu. Especially Sachinandan Swami, the way in which he puts it, it's very inspiring and very practical. The examples that he gives. I love his, even in Japa seminars that he gives around the world, it's so nice the techniques that he says. But as you say, the problem is we have to hear again and again. Otherwise, we just we forget the point.
And another thing I found, Mataji, like if I associate with like juniors who are like their initial days of Krishna consciousness, how they are chanting. So I feel very why I'm not able to do like that. I was so I'm getting some inspiration from like whoever I'm associating with newly joined in Krishna consciousness, or they are
Beginner's enthusiasm.
yeah.
So should we end the call here?
Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Sri Mataji, for the very nice class.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I think Sri Gopal Prabhu, you have anything to say? And also,
Go ahead, Prabhu. Sorry.
Prabhu, so I cannot see Prabhu or Mataji with Vrindavan. Oh, Prabhu, yeah. Sundaran Prabhu or Sri
Yeah.
Gopal Prabhu? Any comment?
Yes, Mataji. I mean, thank you for the wonderful summary, because it was like a nice story. Actually, it was. We started right from the plunging of the earth, where Varahadev, Lord Varaha comes to rescue, and then all the way until the fall down of Jaya and Vijaya. So it was very very thoroughly presented. It didn't look like it were different chapters, it was like a continuous story. So thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. All glories to Bhajana Prabhu. And Prabhupada.
Thank you, Mataji. It was very nice. I almost forgot, what was these chapters. With the last 1 week of activity, but very nice. It's always refreshing, and you were right on dot. 8 o'clock, just before 8 o'clock, you finished presenting all the 3 chapters. That was very nice, and it was a very nice summary of all the 3 chapters. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Yeah, maybe anyone else? Any other comments? Or I feel very happy. Nobody can ask me a question because we covered all this before, right? Because I don't have any of the answers available. They are so difficult for me to understand.
Don't worry, Mataji. So I guess we won't have classes until the exam, right? Exam
Yes.
is 22nd June.
Yes, I think so also, Mataji. Because,
What about 16th chapter?
No, only until 15 we have for this semester, Prabhu.
every semester we have 15 chapters, right, Prabhu?
Chapters.
Oh, because I thought 16th chapter we finished third canto part 1.
No, Prabhuji, only until 15 was part of this semester.
Mataji, when is the exam?
June 22.
Okay, Mataji.
I think Prabhu will tell the timings and all that. But as of now, that's the date.
So this is the last class, Mataji, for this semester?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
The June 22nd, I don't think we have a class.
Yeah, we'll just go and write the exam.
Okay.
Okay.
All the best to everybody. I will be traveling to India next week. So,
Oh, have a nice time, Mataji, in India.
Mataji. Thank you.
See you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.